Hello, it's been a while. This won't be long. I just want to say something real quick, and then I'll get back to my usual type of content. But I want to say that brown women are getting a chance of being spared. Because it's no need, whatever brown men do, I honestly don't pay attention to what they do. And even if I'm subscribed to people, women, that still discuss brown men. Most of the time, I don't even click on their videos. I might once in every blue moon. If something just look interesting, I might just want to hear the story, but I still don't really care. But it's just interesting if I know the, for instance, Bill Gates' daughter and some guy. Well, I don't really care about him, and I don't care about what other brown men have to say about brown women. I was just interested in seeing what she looked like, who she is, and all that stuff. And other than that, I didn't care about her being with a brown male. I mean, it's common sense to know how many of them would respond, okay, seeing, knowing what's happened before, okay, seeing what always happens. But I think a lot of brown women, I won't say all, but I think a lot of brown women are missing the point of why this keeps happening. They are being given a chance to separate from a group of people that might have already been judged and their judgment has been set. Not to say that some brown women's judgment have been set. I think there are probably quite a few brown women whose judgment have been set, but not the majority. But at this point, it might be the majority because it seems like they're refusing to listen. I'm not going to judge it. I'm not going to judge them because I'm not their judge, and also because I'm not in a position at the where I am to judge anybody. Let me say that, okay? Basically, I'm not operating as a God right now. So when I say I'm not the judge, it's because I'm still working on mastering self, that I can't judge anybody else. That's what I mean. But the people who have mastered self and elevated to a certain level way beyond human, yeah, they probably can judge, okay? They can. Because the people who issued the order for the bloodlines, a lot of bloodlines in the brown community. Sorry if you hear music, I'm at a restaurant. The people who ordered for the bloodlines to be cut in the brown community, those came from higher ups. Those could have come from what looks like people, okay? Yeah, it was spirit involved, but it also came from people that's probably involved in that. You know what I'm saying? That have more clout, okay? So yes, once people get to a certain level of mastery, they probably can judge. But what I want to say, because I don't want to get on that, but that's part of the reason why you see a lot of, nothing against homosexuals, but it looks like a movement amongst brown men. Way more than brown women, it looks like a movement amongst brown men. It's cutting off the bloodlines. That's part of cutting off the bloodlines. And that was put in, that was executed, that was an executive order years ago to cut off the bloodlines, many bloodlines in the brown community, and that's why you see what you see. And so anyway, to get back to my original point, because I can't stay on long, is that brown women, many of them, I don't think they can see what's happening here. It seems like they keep getting upset with brown men or just want to point out the things that brown men do. What's happening is that brown women are given a chance to get out. Okay, because one of these days, I'm going to have to talk about what happened and what I've seen in the lower realms and how brown women are being sacrificed and brown men are taking their crown so they can, and I'm talking about, when I say brown men, I'm talking about a lower realms where they might have already died, right? And they're probably in other dimensions, but they're still sacrificing brown women to try to find a way to elevate and rise up in a sin, and they sacrifice brown women, they kill brown women, take her crown, and then they ascend. I saw that in lower realms, and I think these are coming from the brown men that might have already died. And then, of course, you're going to have those brown women that help them. So, yeah, that judgment is set for them, too. That's what I'm saying. that the judgment is definitely set for some brown women. At this point, it's a lot of brown women that judgment is set for when it was not. Judgment was, let me repeat this, Umar Johnson style, okay? Not that I'm a fan of his. I never even watched his. I know people expose him, but I couldn't get into him anyway. But let me get off of him. I'm going to repeat this 3 times like Umar Johnson style. Judgment was not meant for brown women. Let me say it again. Judgment was not meant for brown women. Judgment was not meant for brown women. It wasn't, but it's going to come to brown women because they don't want to listen. And once again, I ain't judging. I'm just going to tell the truth. Just because I make mistakes in my life doesn't mean I can't tell the truth of what's happening, right? So I'm not going to wait to be a perfect person, because if I become perfect, I won't even be a person. I'll be beyond a God, to be honest with you, because the beings that was called gods was still in a fallen state. I'll be beyond a God, okay? But that's my point in saying it, is that I'm not going to wait to perfection to say what I already know. But I'm doing it without judging, because I don't have room to judge if I'm still working on my self-mastery, but I'm just going to tell the truth. This judgment is coming heavily on brown women because they don't want to listen. They've been given grace. They've been given the time. Okay, like, and brown women don't want to open up their mouths about the truth. But finally, when we got in the 2000s, around the time YouTube started with a lot of guys in the early 2000s tearing down brown women because people couldn't really see it in the hip hop music how brown women was being torn down and how brown women were being exploited in a lot of the movies. YouTube was a good way to show the real hatred and vitriol that these guys had. Many of them, not all, but it's a lot, okay? I can say not all, but it's a lot that these guys have for brown women. YouTube was used. I think that was the time that brown women finally got it, because the music was not enough to show in them dating outside of their race in the droves. It wasn't enough. So now they had to really hear the words and see the words, even on Twitter and whatever they do stuff at. They finally get to hear the words and see the words that they got to say, instead of just going off of music and movies and who they date. Now you see what's in their head with what they upload on YouTube or what they put in Twitter. And brown women, for some reason, a lot of them still are refusing to get the picture. So there is a huge storm that is coming from brown women, but it's only because she has been given the time to see what the truth is and get the message and separate. All of this is happening not to this. All of this has been exposed to brown women, not for the brown women to constantly get upset. This is not towards. I want to make this clear too. This is not towards the person who uploaded that video about Bill Gates dating. Excuse me. Bill Gates' daughter dating a brown male. This is not towards that person. I'm not criticizing that person at all. I know she talks about selective breeding, and to be honest with you, some people are against her, but what I have to say will probably be a little worse than her. So I'm probably, honestly, myself could be more dangerous than she is, because I just say cut everything off, because I don't think brown people really get it. What are you going to do with the brown children that's already here? We keep seeing what stores are closing down in brown neighborhoods, and brown people don't understand what they're going to do about it. We're seeing what brown people in droves are getting kicked out their apartments. And those are the main women that have children, by the way, because to be honest with you, women, when I see brown women growing up in life, brown women who had more of a middle to upper class upbringing, and they barely have children. They barely have children, okay? Just talking to them, living around in 3 states and just talking to brown women, they barely have children. So those women in those urban communities, those lower income communities, they're the reason that the brown community exists. They're the reason that a black community exists in the first place. Because if it was not for those, what you would call, I guess people want to call them breeders, if it was not for them, there would not hardly be any brown children, because brown women in the middle to upper class that's raised like that, they're not the ones having children like that. So as much as people want to criticize these women getting on welfare and all this stuff, they're the reason that you have children in the brown community. They're the reason that the brown community keeps going. Women like that. What do you hear a lot of brown people say? They grew up with a single mother and they grew up in the poor neighborhoods. It's those women, even grown people that's my age and older, it's those women that keep having babies. Had it not been for women like that, even people like myself wouldn't have been born. Okay? Well, I didn't grow up in a poor neighborhood, but I was adopted. So, I probably wouldn't have had the life I had had I not been adopted, but I still, I told you about my family before. I don't want to get into that because that's not what this is about. But so a lot of people who say they grew up poor, that's my age and older, even they would not have been born had it not been for women like that people want to put down, right? But what's happening is now it's time for a separation, because I don't know why brown men are being judged. I think everybody can see it, but the judgment was for brown men. And I always knew that majority of brown women were supposed to be spared, even though some brown women their judgment was set too, because some of them was involved in the fall of matriarchy. Because I'm not talking about just how brown women are today and them being lost in patriarchy. I'm talking about some brown women were the reason for the fall of matriarchy, because if it wasn't for some brown women, it was only brown women who knew the mysteries. Okay, I'm talking about the first cycle, right? It was only the brown females who knew the mysteries. So for it to get to brown men, in order for the brown men to get with the white men and overturn matriarchy, it started with brown women giving these guys the mysteries and raising them up as God, putting them up on a pedestal. What do you see brown women doing today? Putting brown men on a pedestal. No matter what he does, they put him on a pedestal. This is what they did during the fall of matriarchy. And they gave him the mysteries because they are the only ones that had it. They taught it to him, and then he turned around and gave it to the white man. Okay, and it helps to usurp matriarchy in a very violent way. And it took a long time for that to happen. So it didn't happen overnight. It took thousands of years for that to happen. Okay, because that means that most of the people in matriarchy was not in agreement with it. Because for it to take that long, that means it was war. Okay, or else it would have been done immediately. But you had some women that helped brown men and put him on a throne, put him on a pedestal as a king to be worshipped when he wasn't supposed to be there. And this is what you see today in the brown community. This is exactly what you see today. So there are some brown women that's supposed to be judged. Their judgment is set. They ain't supposed to ever come back, and their bloodline ain't ever supposed to come back. Okay? But there's a lot of brown women that seems to keep being lost. And once I can't judge nobody. Even if I don't do exactly things the way other brown women do it, I have other faults of my own that cause me to get into. It's a lot of things I would say in my unconscious mind, I would say, that still causes me to have a rough type of life, I would say. So there needs to be a lot of self-mastery on my part. Even if it's not exactly what the brown women do that I'm talking about, even if it's not exactly what they do, I still have my own work to do. That's why I say I can't judge them. But what I'm talking about something specific, and what I'm saying is that brown women, with the way these guys are acting, it's supposed to let brown women see the truth for what it is, and then separate, do what they need to do. That doesn't mean separate from men who have been supportive of them. And that's another problem, is that brown women, I don't know if they're masculine because they're too emotional for me. A lot of brown women are too doggone emotional to be masculine like that, because they should have made a logical decision by now. The mere fact that they can't be logical means that they are extremely rebellious, or they're emotional. So I don't really see a whole lot of masculine energy in brown women like people say, because they should have made a better decision by now. And once again, this is just me being logical and saying that, not a judgment, okay? That's me being logical and saying that. People keep saying brown women are masculine. If brown women were masculine, like they keep saying, brown women would have made a logical decision based on what they see all the time from brown men and their disrespect. Not to say brown women are perfect, but that was to give them time to work on themselves too, right? They needed to separate from brown men and work on themselves, okay? So, but what I'm saying is that when you constantly see somebody disrespecting you and you keep going to support them, you keep doing it, it's like something is not right. Really, masculine energy, you're supposed to have more logic. You're supposed to use a little bit more logic than that. And to me, it seems like they're really emotional because they have a son or they have a husband or they have probably decent men in their life that might have done something for them in their time of need. And so they feel like because of those things, they want to support the majority of brown men that completely tears them down. That's emotional. That's emotions. That's not masculine. That's not masculine at all. Okay? But that's just my opinion, though. That don't mean I'm completely right. That's just kind of my opinion. But what was I going to say? And her having a job and having a business, I mean, she ain't doing nothing different from the white woman. Why can't the white woman be called masculine too then? If you want to call her masculine off of having a business and having a job and driving a car, well, how many white women, Asian women, Hispanic women can do that? So they're all masculine too. So that's stupid. That's just people saying that because they don't want the brown woman to do well in life. They want to see her fail. She doing everything she doing is what the white woman do, and the white woman could probably do more. I mean, the white woman do more just because white women have a little bit more resources, honestly, not that she can do more. That's what I'm saying. But my point is, everybody want to call them masculine for doing it, but the other women are more feminine. I'm like, no, they just don't want to see brown women to do well. They want to see these ladies fail. And when you keep witnessing that, and for some reason, there's some emotional reason to hold on to the majority of the men. If somebody is good in your life, if you're married to a good man, if you got a son that you're teaching not to do that to, not to disrespect women, that's fine. But to use that as an excuse to support the majority of these men that are so disrespectful is very emotional and it's ridiculous. It's just irrational. It's very irrational. Okay, and that's not masculine. That's not masculine, okay? Yeah, anyway, I'm done. I was just saying that all of this was used to give the brown women a chance to see the truth for what it is, but not to judge brown men because judgment is already set for them. So it was not for brown women to constantly judge brown men. It's not their position to keep judging brown men. Their judgment is already set. That's why things are happening to them. Things are happening to brown women is because they're not willing to see the truth for what it is. And so things are going to happen to a lot of brown women like you've never seen before. It's because they don't want to, they're refusing. The truth is in their face, and I don't know if they're being rebellious. I think a lot of brown women have a problem with rebellion. I think they have a huge problem with pride and admitting that they're wrong. They have a problem in admitting that they're wrong. Many of them, not all, because I've seen some brown women admit and work on changing their ways. So I'm not talking about all of them, but many of them. I think it's a bigger problem with rebellion and pride more than just being ignorant, okay? And probably haughtiness too, but it's a lot of characters that other women have too, but this is not about them. They're not necessarily being judged in the way that the brown woman is being judged. Hello. Because she's been given a chance to separate. Okay, she's been given a chance to separate. And because it's getting very close to the brown women, they need to move now. They need to move now to safety because it's coming for brown women. And when I say safety, I'm not necessarily just always talking about a geographical location. I'm talking about moving to a safe location, even in their mind, in their becoming more spiritual and becoming more into their self, into their true self. Not always. Excuse me. Sorry. not always about our geographical location, even though that might need to happen too because of what you see now. It looked like there's a lot of discomfort happening in a lot of so-called urban, poor black communities, or brown communities. It looked like things are happening from what I see in the titles when people upload videos. So that could be an option too. If you can, it's probably best to get on out, because a lot of people who have businesses there are non-black, and they're opting out of continuing to have a business in those communities. So it might be best to do that too if you can. But anyway, that'll be it now. Talk later.